Yes. Well, bullies. What about? I'm going to talk about the bullying and bullies this time. I'm sure most of you, or many of you, have been bullied, or at least once at school or at work, even. But the worst kind of bullying is the one that happens while you are young, either a child or adolescent, because that's the one that the younger you are, the deeper it goes. It leaves deeper imprints on you. Uh, well, first of all, you must know that bullies are kind of uh, why they are become bullies in the first place is that they actually lack some of the social skills that the rest of us possess. That can be one important reason for somebody starting to bully others. Sometimes it's simply the fact that you are bigger and stronger than the others in your class, and you feel some kind of need to uh, show yourself, like to establish your dominance over the others, to prove that you are the strongest. But also, those who do that also lack some social skills and very often also intelligence, actually. But others who are bullies, who are not particularly big or strong, uh, they are often people who either lack intelligence or charm or, humor, and then they want to make it up. They try to make up for it by bullying others, attacking them, and why are the smart guys, so-called nerds, the ones that most often get bullied? Well, isn't it obvious? The less intelligent kids or youngsters feel some kind of, well, feel inferior simply to them, because when they find out they are not as smart as these nerds, then it doesn't make them feel good, of course. And that's all they got, simply. And being bullies is all they. I mean, they can't win over them intellectually, so they can win by, by physical force. That's the only way they can exert their dominance over the smarter ones. Yes, but actually, psychological bullying actually, I think, is worse than physical bullying. And why? Well, that I'm going to explain. Well, you can recover from a beating, of course. Beating is, it hurts, of course, and it's not very pleasant. And even though that can also leave one seriously traumatized, but it goes away after a while, and you get used to it. And actually, very often it makes you tougher also, in most cases. But psychological bullying, it's is worse, definitely, because and it most often happens among girls, actually, because girls are not as violent, generally not as violent as boys, and they don't, retort to beating up other girls just to prove that, prove a point or be mean to them. They do it on a much deeper scale or level, actually. And I know I have an example, a personal one actually. I knew a girl bully actually. It was at high school, and she was kind of manly actually girl. She didn't walk like a typical girl or talk like a typical girl. She liked to use cuss words a lot, and she didn't act, of course, like a typical girl. She was also a little older, actually, than me. Not that much, 2 years, I believe. No, actually, a year and a half. Yeah. So when you are not used, I wasn't really bullied in primary school, because I had friends who were strong, the strongest among the strongest. Luckily, in my class, I became friends with them, and because I never flaunted, my knowledge. I never kind of bragged of my intelligence, even though I was among. This is not bragging. This is just the fact. I was among the most intelligent kids in class, but I never really, flaunted that openly. I was always kind of modest, and quiet and all that. So it made the stronger the bullies in this class like me more than the other smart asses who were always had top grades and all that. And also, I didn't always have top grades in all the subjects because I didn't study so much as I should. But anyway, so that made me ill prepared for my first kind of psychological bullying. It was, yeah, I was 19 almost at the time, 18 still. So anyway, actually, first we got along quite well, but then she was one of those types when you don't agree with her, when you take the side of someone else in an argument, then she starts to, kind of harass you and call you names and stuff like that. So I wasn't really used to that, getting treated like that. So I just kind of backed away from her because of that, And of course, I shouldn't have done. I did confront her once when I was fed up, but mostly I just avoided her. That's one way you can handle bullies, by just ignoring them as much as possible, just avoiding them, and occasionally telling them, like, get off my back and stuff like that. What have I done to you? But another way, perhaps more effective, is to stand up to them, of course, because most of these bullies, they are quite insecure persons, because I don't know, various reasons. As I said, some lack intelligence, some lack social skills, some lack, popularity, so uh, they try to force others to like them. You know, that's kind of sad. But anyway, as I was saying, psychological bullying can really, leave a big mark in your head, in your soul. When somebody, constantly badgers you and just brings you down, calls you names, and you are not that type. When you are not the argumentative type, that's even worse. You know, when you are kind of introverted, like I was and am still, then it's really hard to deal with that. But eventually, I kind of got over it. Well, I think for girls it's worse because they're simply not as well robust as boys, and you know I mean, of course, it would have been worse if that bully had been a guy, I mean, a male, boy, instead of a girl. Then, I'd have a reason to fear him, actually. I didn't fear her, I just kind of backed away from her because I didn't want to get into this conflict. I feared that if I really got angry and, stood up to her and started arguing that a fight would break out, physical fight. Because I seen her once fight with another guy actually in class. That was really weird and shocking also. So, but of course, when you are a girl and you are getting mobbed, like uh, teased about stuff, about the way you look, about your clothes or how you talk, and that's of course that can be very damaging. But anyway, my advice to you who go through that perhaps every day in school or even working place, it's rare, but it happens there also. It depends what kind of a working place it is, but uh, my advice to you is just to do your best to not take it too hard, and if that kind of bullying goes too far, of course, then you must react. You must let them know that that's not okay. You are not going to stand for it, and of course, try to avoid physical confrontation always. I think it's best because it's not good for anyone. Even though it kind of tells the bully that you are, he is not or she is not taking this anymore. So it's not gonna be easy to bully that person anymore. So that can make a bully give up simply if you end up in a fight, but it's still not the best solution, I believe, to fight. The best is just to walk up to them and tell them, hey, what's your problem? I'm not, I don't have anything against you really. Just trying you know, to live. So yes, bullies are, as I said, uh, you know, very often when somebody fights back and uses the same measures as they use, they kind of step back. They pull back often, not always, but often, because when they realize they cannot intimidate you anymore, they are gone. So do your best just to show that you are not intimidated, but never go for a physical confrontation. So that's all I wanted to say. So take care.